Lydia Ko joins us now at the 2025 KPMG Women's PGA Championship. Lydia, welcome to Fields Ranch East at PGA Frisco. What are your thoughts on the East course so far?
In all honesty, I'd actually heard a lot of mixed reviews before coming here, but it's never the true experience, and you don't really know until you're actually here. And yesterday I played the back nine, and today was the first time I saw the whole golf course, and it's really nice. I think the front nine and back nine has very different characteristics. It kind of felt like two different golf courses in ways, but. I kind of preferred this windier conditions today over yesterday, but it's been a great experience so far. And, the whole setup they have here is really awesome, from the hotel to the practice facility. So I think it's going to be a great week and very convenient for all of us.
Perfect. We'll open up for questions, starting over there with Alex.
Yep. Lydia, I know fellow Kiwi Ryan Fox has had a lot of success recently. What do you make of his success, and how awesome has it been to see him break through and get these wins recently?
Yes, that was super cool when he had his first win at Myrtle Beach, and then, winning 2 times out of 4, having a 50% winning rate is pretty crazy, especially in this sport. But yeah, he's been playing really well. I think the first win got him into the PGA Championship, and then the second one got him into the US Open. So it's been really cool to follow him. I've known him for a really long time from junior golf days. So to see a fellow Kiwi doing really well, especially at the biggest stage in our sport, has been awesome to follow, and I hope that there are many more juniors that are aspiring, future Ryan Fox or myself, and it would be cool to see down the road a lot more of the New Zealand flag up on the leaderboards.
And had you given any idea or thought to 2028 and possibly a mixed team event you could play with him?
I think in Paris we were both like, oh, this is probably our last Olympics. And I said, in Paris was probably going to be my last one. I think it's a really fun format to have that mixed team event. I don't know if I think it's very highly unlikely that I will be competing in that one, but I think it's a great way to integrate the sport, and it's fun. As much as a stroke play component is what we normally play, I think it's good to kind of change it up a little bit. And I think golf has been back in the Olympics long enough now that I think we can change it up, and I'm excited to see it, and I think it gives opportunities for people that may have not medaled, individually, for kind of go for a team event, and it's super exciting, and whether I play or not is not really the big thing, but I think it's great for our sport.
Brad?
I'm wondering, when you're playing a course like this that people don't know a lot about and you're trying to prepare for a major, do you watch any video from the 2023 senior PGA that was played here?
Yeah, this is a fairly new golf course, so there's not a lot of information out there. I think some people probably heard that I prepared for the US Women's Open by watching YouTube golf. There wasn't much of that here, so I didn't get that kind of preparation coming in. But yeah, Steve Stricker, I think, shot 20 something under par to win, which seems like a very low number out here, and I feel like this kind of golf course, it's dictated a lot by what time of the year you play, and it's not that firm and fast yet, and I think there may be a little bit of rain in the forecast, so I think the course is probably going to play a lot longer than maybe how the seniors men played it a couple years ago, but we've got the world's best here, and I wouldn't be surprised if there are a few low numbers, but it's a major championship. I don't think we're all expecting to shoot 5-6 under every day. There might be the occasional low one, but it's going to test us in every element. And I think this golf course is great because it kind of fits all types of players. Obviously, if you're a little longer, I think you can carry some of the bunkers that's more in the middle of the fairway, but other than that, I think it's not really that favorable towards one type of player, and that obviously makes it more interesting because it opens up the leaderboard a bit more.
And is there a stretch of holes that you think might be instrumental, whether it's the ability to birdie a couple holes or potentially rugged stretch of holes?
I think the front nine has a little bit more of character, I think, in general than the back nine. The back nine, I think you could end up making a lot of pars, and I think in ways you could lose your focus. So I said I think it's going to be really important to come down the stretch, being super attentive and really focused. And I think especially when things are on the line, it's easy to kind of switch off because it's such a long week. But the front nine, I think, is going to be key. There's some more elevation into greens, and the greens are kind of sit a little bit differently than just more straightforward shots. So I think playing the front nine really smart is really good, and in the back nine just playing steady golf and just giving yourself a lot of opportunities. But it's a mix because there's 3 par 5s in the front nine and I think 1 on the back, so it might seem like the harder 9, but there is obviously going to be more shots where you're going to hit shorter clubs in.
Thank you.
Go ahead, Art.
People that live somewhere are used to the conditions, but when you don't live somewhere, then it may be a surprise. I was wondering your thoughts on the heat this week. Does that seem hot or does it seem okay? What's your thought on the heat so far this week?
I mean, yesterday was hot, but I also live in Florida, which also can get really hot. And I just didn't know that Dallas got hot and humid. I thought it was like very dry, so it was a little surprising yesterday. Yeah, but it's the same. I think the great thing about it is that it's not like 55 in the morning and then it goes up to 90. It's like comfortable, like 70 something during the morning, and then it's obviously really hot in the afternoon. But I saw the forecast and I think it's meant to be pretty breezy. So, which is like, it feels like somebody turned the heater on. I came out of the clubhouse and I was like, who turned the heater on? But it's the breeze is definitely much nicer than without it yesterday, but it's going to be the same conditions. You play once in the morning, once in the afternoon, that sets you up for the weekend. So I think it's going to play very fair, and I won in Singapore in the heat, so I feel like I can survive. Yeah.
Also, another question. This is the home of the PGA of America, where we are, and they're going to have a lot of tournaments here, a lot of majors, probably, more KPMG tournaments will be here. I just thought your thoughts on playing a place that you played, before, as opposed to just going to a major site that you've never seen before, or it's, had never held a major.
Yeah, I don't know how many years I need to be playing more to be back here again, but it's, I think the great thing about, a lot of our U.S. Open and KPMG especially, we are going to these kind of historical places where, traditionally maybe the men have gone and played, places like in Erin Hills where they've held a lot of other USGA events. This is great, with the PGA of America's headquarters here, and to my knowledge, I think Gil Hans and the team, they designed this course to host championships. So it's, it's designed with a purpose, and obviously the more frequently you go to these kind of sites, you kind of get more familiar with it. But at the same time, you need to play for a really long time to go to these returning sites. But places like Hazeltine, I played a while ago, but it's nice to come back to these new these courses that we played at. But at the same time, it's nice to kind of have a face a new golf course too. And I think there's pros and cons to both. But this site is definitely going to be around for a very long time in the men's and the women's side.
Sarah?
Lydia, I know I asked you about this at the U.S. Women's Open, but you're starting to get even closer to Annika's all-time leading money earner record in LPGA history. Can you just speak to what it would mean to surpass her and how cool it is to you to be able to do that in such a short amount of time?
In ways, it's unfair because she's won like 70-something times, and I've won I'm proud of my 23, and I'm hoping to have a few more by the time I'm done, but we are just playing at a very different era, and I think I've said multiple times, women's golf and women's sports in general is on such a high that we're just, I think, very fortunate to be in this generation to be able to ride it, and we're very grateful to these kind of key partners like KPMG and many others that are supporting us and believe in what women's golf can be. And I feel like we're still in process of, the big end goal. And, no, I think as a player now, obviously I'm very grateful for all the opportunities that I have, and, even having the biggest possible, winners check like at the CME Group Tour Championship. So I'm very lucky to be born in this era. So it's kind of hard in the sense of even being compared to Annika, who has done much more than me. But I think that's why it's our duty as players, or, just the whole organization, to be able to keep growing it and give more opportunities for the future generations and the kids that are coming out here to watch us play.
You've won in a myriad of states, but I'm just wondering if you could just speak to Texas golf. You've talked about the heat, talked about this golf course, but just Texas golf as a whole and how different the state plays depending on where you're at. If you could just speak to that.
In all honesty, I've not really played well in the state of Texas, but this is my favorite course in Texas yet. And I said this building is the nicest building I've ever seen in Texas too. So yeah, it's I think there is always time for a change, and I think if you go down the hole of saying, okay, I've only won in California or I've only won in Florida, I think you're kind of putting pressure and doubt in your own mind. So yeah, there's always opportunity for wins, and at the same time I have there's 156 players, and as long as you're competing, you have that chance to be out here. And I think that's the great thing about this golf course is even if you were local to the area, I don't think you're that familiar to this golf course. So it's a pretty level playing field, and I think it doesn't matter if you've seen the golf course 100 times or once. If you're playing good and hitting good quality golf shots, I think that's what matters the most at the end of the day. And hopefully, I feel like I've done, good work with my coaches, and hopefully I'll be able to do that and just give myself a good run at it. And I feel like KPMG Women's PGA Championship is the one that I feel like I should win, like the type of golf courses we play. And I saw Meg Mallon and Beth Daniels yesterday and said, hopefully I can join you at the Champions Dinner someday, and have a dinner menu curated by me. So yeah, it's a group party that I would love to be a part of, but I know that even our normal events is hard to win, and a major is just to a whole new level, and it would be pretty cool to be a women's PGA champion.
Lydia, you mentioned that this is a tournament you feel like you should win. If you were to win, in the context of your career, what would that mean to you?
I mean, it'd be pretty awesome. I was, talking to my caddy about this, and I was like, I shouldn't have won the British Open, and that's where I probably had, not the best record going into St. Andrews last year, and especially coming off the week at Olympics a couple weeks prior. So, if I made the impossible possible, then I feel like as long as I'm playing good golf and I'm smart and I'm committed out there, then, hopefully I can give myself opportunities, like whether this is the one or maybe future sites, I'm not really sure. But I do really like it out here, and I feel like I'm enjoying, playing a lot more these days than before, and I think that just puts me in a better mindset where I'm not frustrated and stressed out as much. But when things are on the line, things can change. There were a lot of emotions at the US Open last year, but I think it just purely because it means a lot to all of us players, and you just never know until that pressure and that moment comes. And I think that's the reason why we play, for those kind of key moments. And, hopefully I'll be able to put myself in those, in contention in those times a bit more frequently in the future.
And then you mentioned the Open and the Olympics. I'm curious, there's been a lot of talk about Rory winning the Masters and having kind of like a get your dream come down, like a malaise. For someone who's achieved many dreams, how did you find the after effect of achieving that? And then how did you reposition yourself to find a new mountain to climb?
I think I thought my life, or maybe the way I thought about myself, would change when I got into the Hall of Fame and, did a lot of things that I really wanted to do before it actually happened. And, I'm sure Rory's, is thinking the same in similar parts where everybody was like, oh, Masters is the one that he is missing. Like, what if? And then he did it, and like as much as I'm sure he's so happy and relieved, he's just as good as the day before, like before he won it. So it's just, I think that's what I kind of came to peace with. And it's just, I think sometimes when it's right there in front of you and see all these statistics, you feel like you should do more. And I think, you know, some of the things that we've already gotten, we take for granted. So I think that's what I realized most, and that's what made me realize I still got to go out there and practice and put in the time to play well the week after. And that's the thing about golf. Our season is so long that, you know, there's really not much time to just kind of relax. And even the off season goes by so fast. So there's not much time to honestly sit down on that thought. But I'm pretty sure, like, he wanted to win the U.S. Open when he teed it up. It's the same. Like, we're greedy in that sense. Like, nothing will fulfill us fully until we're done. And I think I don't think that's a bad way of putting it. I think that's the reason why we play, and that's why he's at his level, because of his competitiveness.
We'll wrap things up with Jill.
They say you can learn a lot about somebody by playing golf with them. What did you learn about KraigKesler today?
It was my first time meeting Craig today. You know, I had only heard a lot of lovely things about him. I'm not just saying that because he's our new commissioner. It was from former players to, you know, people that worked with him at, you know, other companies. You know, everybody said a lot of great things, and I think that he was exactly that. You know, it was just great to pick his brain and even like ask him why he wanted to go for the commissioner role, because it's not an easy job. And you know, for him to have this passion and this excitement to see where he can take our tour, I think it's great to have a leader like that. And yeah, it was, I think, a great first meeting, and I'm sure he's busy, you know, with still, you know, wrapping things up with the PGA of America and transitioning into our role as well. But yeah, it's exciting, and I think it's a great time for golf, and it's great to have somebody like him that's enthusiastic and really wants to see where, you know, like how far we can go. Yeah.
Does he have game?
Yeah, he played really good, especially the back nine. He played really well, and we finished at the top of the leaderboard by the end of like our round. I don't know if somebody like played better, so we're good. Yeah, but we don't want him to be too good, right? Like he can't be playing too much golf. Yeah. But no, he's great, and he just seems like he has a lot of good energy, and I think that's really important in any person. Yeah.
Thanks for your time, Lydia.
Thank you.